If I didn't confirm this via a variety of different sources, I wouldn't have believed it were true. Or more than that, even possible, that a new free-to-play MMO of arguably reduced quality to either WoW or Final Fantasy XIV could dethrone not only one, but both in terms of monthly active players. Yet here we are in a world that I couldn't envision a mere month ago. One where the two titans of the genre have been humiliated by, well, an MMO that makes tower fantasy look like Elden Ring. Summoner's War Chronicles is a brand new cross-platform MMORPG, much like Tower Fantasy, Grand Saga, or Odin Valhalla Rising. It has a large open world split and segregated by loading screens, much like Final Fantasy XIV or Guild Wars 2. You pick from one of 3 very uninspired classes, you create a character with a highly limiting character creator, and then you proceed to play through, admittedly, a very light, very fun story. And not fun because you're actively engaged in and enjoying it, rather fun because you spend the vast majority of the cutscenes laughing at the horribly cringe dialogue, the voice acting, or sequences as a whole. I played through approximately 17 hours of the game over the last 2 weeks in an attempt to gather an accurate impression of the title. I didn't want to just invest an hour or two into the game and base my impressions off of that. I wanted to get as far through it as I possibly could without quitting or giving up, and I will have my full dedicated thoughts up at some point next week. But today we're here to discuss when the game released, how it attained those numbers, and what continues to motivate so many players to log in and play it day after day. Before we do, I want to take a moment here to thank all of my patrons over on Patreon. Your guys' support is invaluable and deeply appreciated. Also, if you have a moment, consider following me over on Twitch. I stream there every weekend. Summoner's War was a mobile game that released back in 2014. It continues to make upwards of $10 million every single month and is one of the most popular, highest grossing gacha games around the world. Thus, it was only natural that they would want to expand their reach into other genres. Summoner's War Chronicles was revealed to be in active development back in February 2017, but released 6 years later globally in March 2023. The game launched on March 9th, and on March 10th, the following day, the devs made an announcement on the official website stating that Summoner's War Chronicles topped the global charts across various platforms and markets within 24 hours of its release. This is admittedly a very big achievement, as very few gacha games manage to top the global charts given the competition that is available. Players were given various items as rewards for their accomplishment, and while topping the charts doesn't require monolithic numbers proportional to their competition, Summoner's War Chronicles absolutely destroyed all expectations, with 5 million players having downloaded and logged into the game over a 4-day period, marked by another announcement over on their website. 5 million global summoners were playing worldwide. 3 days later, 7 days after release, the devs confirmed there were over 1 million daily active players, with reportedly numbers continuing to scale week after week. This makes sense, of course. The game just launched and is topping the charts. Naturally, there's going to be a lot of interest in the game. Again, all of this was confirmed via their website, and additional rewards were given out as a thank you from the devs after each milestone. Over 5 million total players and 1 million players logging in daily is an absurdly monstrous number for a brand new MMO. Now, it is worth noting that PC statistics were not disclosed and therefore not included in these overall numbers. When they claimed Summoner's War Chronicles topped the global charts, they were referring specifically to the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. This game was released for PC, for Android, and for iOS devices, but the vast majority of players interested in cross-platform titles prefer to play them on their phones due to the ease of access. With this in mind, it is safe to assume the final numbers were even higher, given the game peaked at almost 40,000 players concurrently on Steam, and even today peaked at almost 30,000 over a month later. This average puts Summoner's War Chronicles in the top 50 most popular games on Steam right now, almost averaging the same numbers as Final Fantasy XIV and New World via Steam alone, an accomplishment that is by no means an easy feat to achieve. Steam reviewers have also been incredibly kind, putting the game at very positive based off of 7,171 reviews. But what specifically caused this mass influx of players to suddenly bombard their servers? Because its predecessor, Summoner's War, didn't garner these kinds of numbers, and while still a very popular gacha game, is nowhere near as popular as this game is. Honestly, after having put almost 20 hours into the game, it's not actually bad. That doesn't inherently make it good, not by any stretch of the imagination, but the game looks pretty good. It has a very Ni no Kuni feel to it, offers a pretty flat but quality anime aesthetic. The combat was surprisingly good and had some great quality special effects. And being forced to play the game for the first few hours as opposed to relying on an auto feature was great. However, when do mobile MMOs ever allow for true manual play indefinitely? Yeah, never. At some point, I don't even remember when, I unlocked auto combat and the game proceeded to bore me into quitting a couple days later. But the target demographic of these types of games rely on autoplay, on auto-pathing, on auto combat to actually play the game for them. Mobile MMOs have these ridiculous investments necessary to be competitive, and letting the game grind for you so you don't have to allows for players to work or play games that are actually fun to invest time into. There is no shortage of mobile gamers in this day and age, and many of them like the allure of playing an MMO. While I don't believe any mobile MMO truly captures what makes a real MMO, a PC MMO, a worthwhile game to play, I cannot deny these cheap knockoffs do not serve a purpose. They're the equivalent of a nicotine patch, a weak, diluted fix that doesn't feel the same, but might be enough to not leave you craving for more. Much like its predecessor, Summoner's War, this is a gacha game. And as such, with the numbers they've achieved, you have no doubt they're banking in the tens of millions of dollars easy. Various sources speculate 2-week earnings to be at a minimum of $20 million across mobile alone, with a combined total across every platform, including the additional 2 weeks not accounted for, possibly breaking $50 million, almost double what Tower of Fantasy made during its launch month. With numbers absolutely dominating Tower of Fantasy and by extension every mobile, cross-platform, or even PC-exclusive MMORPG, Summoner's War Chronicles has become the most popular, most successful MMORPG on every major platform right now, with millions of active players and tens of millions of dollars in earnings. While I don't foresee this remaining a constant over the next few months, it's shocking that a new free-to-play title like this has managed to amass the following that it has. And it deserves it. It is a step above its competition, minus the auto combat, which I'm not fond of, but allowed me to grind a little while I was editing videos or working out. Again, I will have a dedicated video on Summoner's War Chronicles up at some point next week, covering my general thoughts of the game and everything that I experienced over almost 20 hours in-game. But it is about time, I think, that we see a little bit more competition in the genre. The next few years are going to be very interesting. Now, if this is not a game that you're interested in, no problem. I got you covered with 2 different videos on screen right now. One featuring every MMO releasing this month, and the other, a brand new game MRSSSTIX had some fun in.